Good morning, Knicks Nation. It's still morning. I'm pretty busy today. Today is Wednesday. It is the 13th day of April, 2022. I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy today and your family is also safe and healthy with all the crazy things going on in the world today. Blessings upon those that are the first responders and those that are working in the healthcare field, trying every day to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us, keep streets and sidewalks, highways and parks clean. And those that make deliveries to supermarkets and delis and for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of child pornography and pornography, the victims of prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, sex slavery, oftentimes underage, and double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that traffic in this human misery. Finally, blessings upon those that are homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children on the streets of the United States today, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Yesterday, we're continuing. Well, first, let me just let you know that we're continuing to do the last few segments of the draft prospects that I'm looking at for the Knicks. And I think we have left I'm looking at this guy that brothers mentioned the other day, Malachi Braham. He'll be like the last one I do, but I still got Johnny Davis and Wendell Moore to do. And those would round out 13 prospects that I have. So the Knicks will be picking around 12th, right? And so I picked 13 prospects that I feel fit the Knicks best going forward. And going forward is what we're going to talk about today for a little bit. But so I picked 13 knowing that somebody's going to be available that we would like at 12, right? And so that doesn't matter if the Knicks move up. They will not be moving down. So 12 or better, right? So that being the case, we got 12 prospects, and not all the prospects everybody else has is what I have on my board, and not the order. Like you might look at Tankathon and you're going to see an order that's much different than the order I have. Again, I'm looking at what I feel fits on the Knicks. And that brings me to today's subject. Yesterday, it was quoted in the New York Post that Evan Fournier wants to run back the same team next season. Okay? And that is insanity. I think we can agree. Why is it insanity? You saw and I saw the Knicks go 37-45 this year. Evan Fournier played just about every game. He played 81 games, I think out of 82 or 80 out of 82. And so him and Burks were very durable this year. Now, people might say, well, we lost Derrick Rose for most of the season, and that's true. And we lost Nerlens Noel for most of the season, and that's true. And then Mitchell Robinson was just getting into shape, which is true also. But an NBA season is 82 games, and every NBA team goes through adversity every season. Okay? So like everybody loses people. Everybody has injuries. Everybody has players that get hurt or don't. And so that's par for the course. You can't use that as an excuse. Okay, that's an excuse because every NBA team goes through the same schedule. At the end of the day, for example, the hardest part of the Knicks schedule was at the end of the season, right? And for other people, the hardest part was in the beginning of the season. But everybody has those, 4 games and 5 nights or 3 games and 4 night stretches and long road trip stretches. Everybody has that. Okay, just that they don't all do it at the same time, obviously. So there's really not much of an excuse. And that's why when you're an NBA team, you want to have depth, right? You want to have depth. You want to use your depth. Most teams go 9 or 10 deep for that depth. You want to try to preserve your star players without overworking them and so that they're not ready for the postseason. You want to try to have your players in top condition, physical condition, because a lot of injury in the NBA, not all, but a lot of injury happens because the player is not in the best physical condition to start the season. Okay. So you want to make sure that they're in a good condition. Now, again, insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We've been talking about that for a few months now. I think if you've been watching my channel, we've done many videos on Insanity, and most of it has been centered on Tom Thibodeau continuing to run out the same group. We went through, in fact, I think it was 2 videos ago, where I looked on basketballreference.com, and I looked at the lineups that the Knicks used during the course of the season. And the lineups with the most minutes, there were 2, and they both had over 400 minutes. One of those lineups was, the only difference was Kemba Walker was one and Burks was the other. So in other words, it was the same starting group, and you just replaced Kemba Walker with Alec Burks. So logically, just plain logically, you cannot start that same group and realistically expect a different result. And so what you must do is you must look at what happened this year with that group. See, Tom Thibodeau was touting the fact that he sees the players in practice and he knows better than everybody else what they can do and can't do and what the best combinations are. And okay, let's say that's true. Let's say Tom Thibodeau knows the players that he has. He knows them better than me and you because he's there with them every day. He sees them. He sees their work habits. He sees how they play against each other. He sees how quickly they're learning, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I'm with Bill Parcells, the former Giants coach, probably the greatest coach the Giants ever had, when he says, your record is what you are. Your record says what you really are. Your record tells you what you are. And so the Knicks, at the end of all of that, were 37-45. That's who they are. Okay? Can they be better? Yes, absolutely. I feel the Knicks can be much better. But in order for them to get better, changes have to be made. Okay? In order for them to improve, changes must be made, because if you don't make any changes, then you're coming back with the same situation and expecting a different result. Now, it doesn't have to be wholesale changes. In other words, you don't have to get rid of everybody and start with a whole new crew of 15 players. That would be hurting what? Continuity. You want some continuity. Part of the reason that at first I was against any change in the coach, because I wanted continuity, because the Knicks have not had a coach last more than 2 seasons in a minute. It's been a minute, right? And so I wanted the continuity. It didn't even matter that it was Tom Thibodeau, although I liked Thibs as my second choice. I wanted some continuity because that was something we did not have. We didn't have continuity in the coaching staff, continuity in the front office. It was lacking continuity. Therefore, we were changing a lot and not allowing any traction to build in terms of a cohesive unit, whether it be front office, coaching staff, or player. So as the time went on, though, we saw the worst habits of Tom Thibodeau come out. Now, in fairness, let's talk about the best habits. Generally, he is a defensive guru when it comes to defense in the NBA. He has shown that. You know, you can't take away the Celtics defense that he created in 2008 that won the championship. You can't take away that whole time he was there and the defense that the Chicago Bulls played and the improvement on defense that he had at Minnesota. So he is a defense guru. And in fact, I'm beginning to think, and I think a lot of you understand, I think he's a defensive coach. I think now he's not a head coach. He's a guy that you make a defensive coordinator. That's what I think is his best role. But at this time, we already got the word from Wojnarowski, one of the 3 wise men, that he's going to be around next year. So, as far as replacing him, training camp 2022, Tom Thibodeau is the head coach. Now, that might change depending if the Knicks, come through the floor. I don't want to see them do that just to make him out, just to get him out. I want the Knicks to win regardless. So he's going to be the head coach. So you must go with that premise to start the season. He's your head coach. Okay. Now, for sanity's sake, Leon Rose has got to make the moves, and he has the power to do that. They keep asking Tom Thibodeau, the media, in his press conferences about the roster next year, about changes, and he would say this. This is what he say. That's a Leon Rose question, right? That's a Leon Rose question. That's a question for Wes and Leon. That's what they do, right? And in a sense, obviously he's right. But also we obviously know he has some say in the matter. Obviously, it's come out and he admitted that he pushed for Quentin Grimes. He pushed to get Deuce McBride. He wanted these players on his team. So he obviously has some say in personnel moves, especially when it comes to the draft. Obviously, we can't. And then we also found out later he did not want Kemba Walker. And he called Steve Clifford about Evan Fournier. So he didn't have complete control because Leon did those two, right? But he has some control, particularly in the draft, because that's what we have seen. Now, that being the case, and we know that changes must be made in order to avoid what we just saw this year, in order for the Knicks to be better than 37-45, what changes need to be made? And during his interview, the so-called interview he had on MSG, that is he being Leon Rose, there is hints that he gave us, okay? I'm still feeling Julius Randle is going to be moved this summer, okay? He's not built for New York. That's a plain statement that I can make. The adversity that he saw this year, you saw, compare how he handled it to how RJ Barrett handled it. Just compare the two. Compare the questions. They were getting very similar questions. You played a bad game this game, or you missed a lot of free throws, or you didn't score as much. They were both asked same questions. Compare how RJ Barrett answered those questions and his reaction to how Julius Randle answered those questions and his reaction. If you didn't know how old they were or how much NBA experience they had, and you just heard two voices answering those same questions, it would be obvious that the RJ voice is the leader. The Julius voice is not your leader. At least you would hope not. Okay? So he signed the $100 million to be a leader, to be the go-to guy, to be the man. It is pretty obvious to me he's not cut out for that in New York. He's not. Okay? He is cut out to be a second or third option on a playoff team. Better really a third option. Because why do I say that? Listen carefully, because a lot of y'all don't. You make comments and you haven't listened, right? The reason I say that is because as a third option, he's not getting the double teams. He's not getting the defense's attention. Therefore, he has more opportunity to operate with the basketball in his hands on one guy that's guarding him. And so you do that in combination with him making quick decisions with the ball, because he's not the first or the second option, he becomes a better player offensively. Defensively, it's all in his head. When he decides to play defense, he can. He has the physical ability to be a high-level defender. He doesn't give the effort on a consistent basis. And Thibodeau, one of the major issues from this season, which is not going to change, if you give him the same roster of players, he does not hold Julius Randle accountable. Okay, so we have seen Thibs get upset at, say, Jericho Sims. We've seen him get angry at Deuce McBride. We've seen him blow up at certain players for certain things like a turnover, right? Or a missed assignment. Whereas Julius Randle has missed multiple assignments, multiple turnovers every game, and he doesn't bat an eye. And I read also in the same article that some of the Knicks players are resenting or were resenting that treatment. Okay? So once you spoil a child, the child is used to being spoiled. And the older the child gets being spoiled, the more impossible it is to change. The worst thing you could do is spoil a child. Tom Thibodeau has spoiled Julius Randle. He will not change while he's on the Knicks. He would change in a different scene. Why? Because he's going into a scene that's not his. He's being introduced. If he went to Dallas, Luka Doncic is the man. Tim Hardaway is your second option. Okay? And coming off the bench is Dinwiddie and Brunson. He would not be the first option. He'd be the third option. Okay. So that he would prosper in that scenario. He's not prospering in the New York scenario because he's not going to change because he's used to doing whatever he wants to do without having any consequences. So that's why Julius Randle will not be a New York Knick come the September training camp or October, whenever it is. Okay. That's a change that must be made. Okay. Secondly, it is Leon Rose, Scott Perry, Walt Perrin that brought in Quentin Grimes, Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, Obi Toppin, and Emmanuel Quickley. They brought those guys. Those are their guys. Okay. RJ was here. Mitchell Robinson was already here. Okay. They were already here. But those other 5 were brought in by Leon. Cam Reddish. Now, Kevin Knox was not Leon's guy. Leon did the slick thing and moved down in the draft last year to get Grimes and added a first-round pick, turned the first-round pick and Kevin Knox, who wasn't playing anyway, into Cam Reddish. So you got 6 players, 24 or under, that are Leon's guys. These not necessarily Thibs, although Thibs, again, had to say in some of them, but they're not his guys. These are Leon's guys. Now, what y'all must remember, and I think a lot of you do understand, every day, Leon, Thibs, and all that crew can be fired at any time. Now, they got guaranteed money, but as you know and I know, James Dolan is a billionaire and owns a team worth over $1 billion. He's not worried about the money. He don't want to waste it, but he ain't worried about it. So they know they can be fired at any time. So now you have to think, when you're Leon Rose, what are you going to do to save your job next year? What are you going to do? You can't come back with the same product. Okay? So you're going to make moves to improve. One of those improvements is moving Julius Randle. Okay? Why? Because Thibs is not going to change. Now, you could get rid of Thibs, and again, Worldwide West wanted him to do that, apparently. But he didn't. So he's going to risk his job with Thibs. So now he's going to help Thibs. He's going to get rid of Randle. What else? Well, you got these 6 kids, Leon, that you got. You went and got them. You went and got Cam. You went and got IQ. You went and got Obi. You were jumping up and down the green room when you got Obi. You got Deuce. You got Jericho. You got Grimes. You got these guys. You got them for a reason. Okay? You didn't get him to sit and play 8 minutes. You got him to play. Okay? We know Thibs does not play rookie point guards at the starting. He just doesn't do it. Okay? Never. Doesn't do it. So, to have Deuce sitting, okay, that's par for Thibs' course. Okay? Like I said, Jimmy Butler's a great player. And he only played 8.5 minutes a game his rookie year. All right? And Thibs loves him. Okay? So, as much as frustrating as it was, I understand. But now we got a new year. Now, to help Thibs out further, you have to take away players that he's dependent on that's going to stop the kids you drafted, Leon, from playing. Okay? That would be Burks. That would be Evan Fournier. See, some of you are looking like, well, I like Evan Fournier. It's not what you like. It's not. What is it? How can we win? And you're Leon, how can we win with the players I picked so I look good? He knows he's got to make changes. He did the right contracts. Really, he did. And all of those contracts, Leon himself said, are movable. That was the words he used, not mine. And I've said that to you. They're movable contracts. All of them. Even Randall's. They're movable contracts. Okay? He's got enough draft capital. 13 picks in the next 2 or 3 years. 13. That he can move. And do whatever he needs to do to get better. Okay? Now, one of the problems in New York with the media, and it affects Knicks Nation, is this thirst for a star. This thirst, we got to get a big star. Again, it goes back to me of this mentality, which I despise. Who's going to come save the Knicks? That's the mentality. Who's going to come save the Knicks? We do not need that. Somebody even said, I heard people say, I heard Berman and others say, Leon was brought here to bring a big star. Where's the star? What did Leon say during that fake press conference, that fake interview? We're going to rebuild the right way. I don't know why people don't want to hear that, but that's what he said, and that's the thing to do. Again, let's go over this, Knicks Nation. How does a big star come? Let's look at the last time it happened. The last time a big star chose to come to a team was the Brooklyn Nets. What happened? You had Kenny Atkinson, and I know y'all love Kenny Atkinson. I'm not bringing him up for us to start debating Kenny Atkinson, okay? Don't get caught up in that. I'm going to just give you the illustration, the template of what happened. They had Kenny Atkinson. They brought in some reclamation projects. They brought in Joe Harris. They drafted Caruth. They brought in Karis LeVert. They drafted him. They brought in a guy that had been given up on as a bust in D'Angelo Russell from the Lakers. Okay. They had Spencer Dinwiddie, who had come off Detroit Pistons, junk pile. And he worked them team. He drafts a Jarrett Allen. He works that team and builds them. So now they're coming. They were jokes at first, NBA jokes, but then they built up. They were pushing for the AC, didn't make it. Then the next year they make the AC. They're pushing. And now you can see D'Lo becomes an all-star. Okay. Joe Harris becomes a guy that's going to sign a really big deal, which he did. LeVert becomes very valuable. Allen becomes very valuable. Now he's pushed and worked those young guys that they got into real NBA team, playoff contending talent. And now, my man Kyrie says, I'm from New Jersey. I think they just need me. I'm better than Spencer Dinwiddie. And he decides to go there. And before he goes, he says to Kevin Durant, join me in Brooklyn. Let's turn this around. And they end up with those two cats. Okay. The sad thing is they traded everything that got in there. They got rid of Kenny Atkinson, brought in Steve Nash. They got rid of Karis LeVert. They got rid of Jarrett Allen. They got rid of all the players that brought in there. D'Angelo Russell. But the point I'm making is that's what those two guys looked at that and said, they got something going on. Let me go over there. That was after 4 seasons of building to that point. That's my point. So we are at the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. We got these 6 young people that we drafted or traded for, right? And we got to turn them into something so that a star will want to come. You see the draft picks we have, we can keep kicking that down the road. You say, how do you do that? Look, let's say you got Dallas's pick and you don't see nothing out there yet that you want, right? You can trade that pick for a future first. You can keep down the road all your picks. You don't got to use them right away. Okay. You got seconds. You can trade seconds for other seconds. You can do that, and you can keep those draft capital until such time as your young players have developed. And you can say, okay, somebody's out there. Some superstar is out there. And he says, dang, Madison Square Garden is rocking. They came from the 12th seed in the East to the 4th seed. They got some young kids that are rising up and pushing all-star status. They got some guys. All they need is me. That's when Leon gets the star. That's when he closes a deal and gets you a star. That's 2 seasons. It's not that. To me, if you let these young kids cook for about 2 more seasons, it's not going to happen next year maybe. It's not going to happen in 2023. But at the end of 2023, I'm looking at that and I'm saying if we can do that. So that's why you have to, right now, clear your decks. Leon tried to appease Tom Thibodeau. You took a step backwards in doing that. He clearly says, he sees it. He said it. We have a bit disappointing season. We have to reevaluate everything. That's code, y'all, for let's get back to what we were trying to do. Year 3 of the rebuild. And Tom, who understands his job at Madison Square Garden, is not completely secure. He got Leon on his side, but listen, it's only a matter of time before Mr. Dolan said, come to my office, Leon. We got to talk about this. That's HR right there. That's the top of the pile HR right there. It's only a matter of time. So Tom understands this. And let me tell you something about Tom Thibodeau. Stubborn, yes, he is. Stupid sometimes, yes, he gets crazy. No question. Putting RJ Barrett in there to blow out loss, that's stupid. But let me tell you this. He would have crawled on his hands and knees to get the Knicks job. He wanted the Knicks job from 20 years ago. He wanted the Knicks job. Okay? So he's not that dumb, but he's going to lose it. That's why you start to hear him talking now more about youth. You heard him? Yo, we got a lot of young people. We got a nice crew. He's now trying to sing that song because his game didn't work this year. And he knew that, and he played the same crew for 900 minutes and got us to 37 and 45. Let me tell you something also. Tom Thibodeau got pride. He's prideful, right? So he don't want to know. Out of 10 NBA seasons, he's only had 2 losing seasons, one in Minnesota and this one right here. So let me tell you what's going to happen. Raw Hebrew telling me what's getting ready to happen. They're going to move Julius. They're going to move either Evan and or Burks. Okay. You're going to see Tom working with these young players, the second and third year guys, fourth year guys, because he knows they got to go to war with. He's got to go to war with them. Okay. If we're able to re-sign Mitchell Robinson, you're going to see, him working with Mitch Rob. You're going to see Rich Rob probably develop a little baby hook, little 10-foot jumper, probably shoot better free throws. They're going to be working hard on that. Then you're going to see them work everybody. You're going to see Deuce, Roku Jokobitis, and Grimes at the Summer League, destroying the Summer League. And Tom's going to be there. He's going to be there. And you're going to see that. Now, once that happens, if they're able to get rid of Burks and Fournier, I'm not even mentioning, if you notice, I'm not mentioning Kemba Walker and Nerlens Noel because it's 100% guaranteed they're gone. That's not even a question. That's not a question. They're gone, okay? Good is gone, right? They're Joe Pesci walking in thinking he's getting made and getting shot in the back of the head. They done. That's it. Okay? Goodfellas. He thought they were going. He's a made man. They have him get all dressed up, and he goes and the all Italian dudes wait for him, and he walks in the room and sees the room empty and realizes it's too late. Kaplow! It's over. They're done. Gone. Okay? So I'm talking about the possibles. That's Fournier, Burks, and Randall. I think D Rose and Taj are going to be back, and I've told y'all because D Rose is that leader that Tom needs to help the young guards, and Taj is just a leader, a mentor, and he's going to come back on the vet men, and they're going to you want to keep that, you need that veteran leadership, okay? Along with Mitchell Robinson is actually going to be in his 5th season, so he's a veteran now, okay? RJ Barrett's going to be in his 4th season. These are not longer, they're young, but they're leaders at the same time. So you got an interesting mix. So I'm expecting that, and that's what's going to happen this summer. And then I'm not sure who the Knicks are going to target in the draft. Look, all NBA teams, all 30 whatever NBA teams want shooters. Everybody wants a shooter. Period. Okay. The problem, and that's where a lot of guys that are watching this from the outside don't get. Just because a guy's a great shooter in college does not mean he's going to be a great shooter in the NBA. It's a different game. There's a different speed. There's some guys that will, okay? That like Tyler Herro was a great shooter at Kentucky. He's a great shooter in the NBA, right? Or Duncan Robinson, a great shooter at Michigan, a great shooter in the NBA. Some guys do that, but not all. Most do not. So they're all looking for shooters. So if a shooter is available, and I don't really see like the guys that have that ability to become great shooters, Jabari Smith from the 4th spot, Keegan Murray, Benedict Mathurin, they got ability to really develop into really solid, good shooters. Then you got Dyson Daniels and Jeremy Sohan that are not, right? But the thing that Tom Thibodeau also likes, aside from shooters, are great defenders that play with IQ. Dyson Daniels, Jeremy Sohan. great defenders that play with IQ. Johnny Davis, we're going to talk about him. Tyree Eason, we've already talked about. He's young. He's coming off LSU's bench. So he's coming out a little early. Really and truly, honestly, out of the 13 guys that I picked, I'd say there's at least 4 of them that could really use another year in college. But that ain't the way things are right now. So they're coming out, right? AJ Griffin, Tyree Eason, they could really use another year in college. Benedict Mathurin even, they could use one more year. But that's not going to happen, right? This is the real. They're coming out, getting that money, okay? So we'll see. Okay, we'll see. But there's more, to me, opportunity to get, if you're going to get players that are ready for your rotation that Tom might play, you're looking at defenders. So you're looking at Sohan, Daniels, EJ. You're talking about Jaden. You're talking about Jabari Smith. You're talking about Okai Agbaji. These guys can play defense right now, right? They can. And again, I'm not talking about 5s because I told y'all, if we lose Mitch Rob, we don't need to draft a young 5 that's going to take 3 years to develop. We need a young 5 that's ready to play. And there's too many of them out there. Like I mentioned Daniel Grafford. I mentioned Bryant from Washington. I mentioned Christian Wood. I mentioned there's a number of guys that you can get that are more ready to play now, that are still young, but they're ready to play. Then, of course, we talk about Mo Bamba, right? There's a lot of guys that are ready to play now that we can get, right? And look, there are young guys that's itching for more playing time, and they got the same situation we had with Randall and Obi. They're itching for more playing time and not getting it, and they may make noise. Like, for example, you got Clint Capella in Atlanta, but you got the young kid from USC. What's that boy's name? You got the young kid from USC behind him that's now looking to start. That boy was, to me, I'm finding right now. He was the best 5 coming out of college that year. It's interesting. He was at USC. Then the next year, you got Evan Mobley came out of USC, and both of them could play, man. Man. And I knew that they were going to pick him. I said, they're going to pick this kid. What is his name? I knew in that draft they were going to pick him. That's why I wasn't worried about Obi sliding to us, because Onyeka Okongwu, yeah, he's only, they got him listed as 6'8", but he's a 5. He's only 21. They got him listed as a power forward. They were playing at the 4, baby, but he's a 5. You got guys out there that you can make a deal for. Not too expensive, young, and can help us right now. They're not superstars, but like I told you, there's no Wilt Chamberlains out there. There's no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's out there. There's no Shaqs out there. Not right now. Okay. So, but we don't want another rookie guy that we're going to have to develop. A rookie center is going to be in foul trouble every game. I'm telling you, that's just how it is. Okay. So, but there's too many options for us to get. So I'm not worried about the center spot if Mitch Rob decides to leave. Of course, we hope he doesn't. But if he does, I'm not worried about it. So we need to have Leon ensure that sanity doesn't continue, that the insanity doesn't continue. Okay? His job is on the line. Tom's job is going to be on the line. And they have to erase that narrative with a product that wins. And if you start off, I know people, it makes me laugh. Like, some of these writers are mad that Leon don't come out and make a press conference. I like that he doesn't come out and make a press conference. He doesn't need the added pressure. The most high pressure job in the NBA is president of basketball operations for the New York Knicks. And that's it. The most high pressure GM job in the NBA is general manager of the New York Knicks. It doesn't get any hotter than that. So if he can insulate himself by using Thibs as his front man while he's scheming to make next moves, do that. I just want him to make good moves. So what? So we win. Okay? So we win. All that other crap is crap. Media wanted to talk to people because that's what they do, right? That's their problem. If Leon say no, he say no. I don't care. As long as we end up winning. Okay? Then he'll have all the press conferences. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the winner first. So, I'm not worried about the 5 spot. Forget all of these 5s in the draft. Ty Washington. If I see another mock with Ty Washington, I think I'm going to go crazy. We're not getting no point guard. Not happening. If we did, he's not playing. Listen, media. Tom Thibodeau is the coach in September, and he ain't playing no point guard. as a rookie. Stop it. Okay? And I hope Leon ain't dumb enough to pay Jalen Brunson no $80 million. Again, I'm not saying I hate Jalen Brunson, but daggone, he is not $80 million of NBA player. No. Please give me Emmanuel Quickley as a starting point guard. And some person, why do you insist on Emmanuel Quickley instead of Deuce McBride? I'm trying to be real. I think Deuce McBride is the better point guard. But I'm being real. If you think Tom Thibodeau is going to start Deuce McBride over Emmanuel Quickley, you need to stop smoking that pipe. That's real. Okay? And I believe, though, you put Deuce in the second unit, give him 18 to 22 minutes a game, eventually, it's a long season. He's going to start. I believe that. Cream always rises to the top. But I know Tom is more comfortable with IQ, and I have no problem with IQ. I believe he will do very well. Okay, but it's a long season. You're going to need both of them. So I'm not worried about that. But we definitely don't need to be drafting no point guard. This is a weak point guard draft. If you're going to do that, you should have did last year. Oh, wait, they did. They drafted Deuce McBride. There you go. See, last year was the year to get a point guard, and they did. Especially if you're not at the top of the draft. Of course, we missed Halliburton. Okay, we missed Halliburton. So what? We got Obi. We got Obi. I would have rather have Halliburton. I ain't gonna front. But I ain't gonna front either. I like Obi. Obi likes the Knicks. Obi's New York. Okay? We got him. Let's not cry over spilled milk. So we got what we need. We just need to move forward with it. And so again, the theme here is Leon has got to what? Restore sanity. That's what you got to do. And me, I believe he will restore sanity. Okay? I saw in one more article before we end now, where they said Leon Rose's salvation is the fact that he drafted well. Okay, you got to follow that up logically. If he drafted well, what do you think his plan is? It's not to trade everybody for a big star. Again, we need to develop what we have. He said that. Okay? People don't think. They just want to create a narrative and not really think through. Leon's not being paid what he's being paid to be in the hottest seat in the NBA to be stupid. Does he make mistakes? Did he? Yes, he did. Can he correct them? Yes, he can. Y'all have a good Wednesday. We'll continue to talk. We got 4 more players to go over, and well, actually we did SoCan, so I could drive up. We got 3 more players to go over going forward. But please, enjoy yourselves today. Be safe out there. It's getting crazy and dangerous. Shalom.